Hi, I'm Michelle and welcome to my channel. What if 50 marks the beginning of your most powerful chapter, not the end? For so long, we've been told aging as women means life shrinks, becomes quieter, and loses relevance. We should step aside, slow down, and be grateful for the past. But that script is broken and more women are tearing it up. What we see isn't decline, it's clarity, confidence, and women stepping into their 50s, 60s, and beyond, saying this is where it gets good. The future isn't youth-obsessed, it's ageless, and women are leading the way. Something important is happening. Women in their 50s and beyond are stepping out of roles they once thought they were supposed to stay in forever. Not because they failed, but because they outgrew them. Careers that once felt meaningful now feel misaligned. Busy schedules feel heavy, and lives that looked successful from the outside no longer feel honest on the inside. So women are making thoughtful changes. Some are leaving long careers for simplicity, downsizing, relocating, or restructuring their lives to regain time, peace, and building small intentional businesses or creative projects that fits their lives instead of consuming them. This shift isn't impulsive, it's awareness. We're living longer than any generation before us. So 50 is no longer the beginning of the end, it's the midpoint. That changes the question from how do I hang on to how do I want to live? And access has changed. You don't need permission, a gatekeeper, or a corner office anymore. You can create, share, teach, and build from your own living room. Decades of knowledge have a place and a platform. The most powerful part of this shift is that women are no longer willing to sacrifice their health, peace, or creativity for the appearance of success. Burnout is no longer a badge of honor, overfunctioning is no longer something to be proud of, and living on autopilot feels intolerable once you've tasted clarity. This isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters. The women leaning into it are not trying to reinvent themselves, they're finally allowing themselves to be honest about who they are and how they want to live out the rest of their lives. Women over 50 are reshaping industries by changing the game, not following the old rules. In entrepreneurship, they start businesses later in life, often online consulting, creative ventures, or education-based work built around their expertise. They prioritize building businesses that support their lives rather than consuming them. In creativity, they write books, create art, design products, launch platforms, and share their experiences, not for trends, but for their insights. In wellness, lifestyle, and education spaces, they share their knowledge of money, health, relationships, boundaries, and resilience gained from living through it. This leadership is steady and powerful, prioritizing stability, longevity, and building to last. Starting later isn't a disadvantage, it's an advantage, sharpening judgment, building discernment, and fostering trust. People seek wisdom, calm voices, and perspective, and women in this stage of life naturally provide all of that. It's not about proving relevance, it's about using their knowledge for purpose, quietly and consistently changing industries from the inside out. Many women think it's probably too late for me, too late to change, or to start something new, or to want more. This myth is powerful because it's conditioned and not logical. For decades, we were taught life follows a straight line. Education, career, family, achievement, and then a gradual decline. But real life moves in seasons. Midlife isn't a closing chapter, it's a turning point. If you look closely at some of the most interesting stories, they didn't even begin until later. Take Grandma Moses. She didn't start painting until her late 70s, and she went on to become one of the most recognized folk artists in the United States, and her work has been showcased around the world. Julia Child didn't even learn to cook until her late 30s, and she published her first book at 49 and went on TV at 50, the very thing that made her a household name. And Emma Gatewood, she was a grandmother when she became the first woman to hike the entire Appalachia Trail alone in 1955. She was 67 years old, wearing sneakers and carrying a homemade bag. None of these women were behind. They weren't late, they were simply ready. By midlife, you've lived enough to know what doesn't work. You've survived disappointment, loss, reinvention, and change. You've learned resilience, and that matters. When women say, I should already have had this figured out, they're afraid to trust themselves. But here's the truth. You've never been more qualified to make decisions for your life. Your voice is clearer, your intuition is sharper, and your tolerance for living out of alignment is low. The idea that no one wants to hear from women our age and that relevance has an expiration date is false. People are hungry for calm voices, perspective, and lived experience. Your story gains weight with time. You're not behind. You're arriving with clarity, depth, and intention. When we talk about thriving after 50, many of us have been sold an unrealistic version. Thriving doesn't mean waking up excited and glowing and having everything figured out, or life suddenly becoming easy. It's quieter, it looks like having more control over our days, protecting your energy, and choosing things based on feelings, not just looks. For many women, thriving means slowing down to create more space for thinking, creating, and breathing. It might mean simplifying your life, changing how you work, or admitting that certain things don't matter anymore. Thriving means letting go of the pressure to do life correctly. You don't have to follow anyone else's blueprint, or want what everyone else wants, or need permission to design a life that fits who you are now. For me, thriving is about feeling grounded in my choices, trusting myself, and building routines that support my nervous system. Your version might look different, and that's okay. There's no right way to thrive after 50. There's just your way. When you stop trying to live up to someone else's definition, life starts to feel lighter. If you're like most women in this season of life, you're probably wondering what's next. You've lived a lot, shown up, done the responsible things, and carried a lot. It's easy to assume that what's coming is smaller, less interesting, and less demanding. But I don't believe that. This chapter is different. It's deeper, not louder or faster. It's not about becoming a new person. It's about peeling away the layers of who you thought you had to be and settling into who you actually are. You know yourself better now. You know what drains you and what you can tolerate. That self-knowledge is a gift. The future belongs to the grounded, steady, and self-aware. And that's you. The best chapters aren't ahead because everything suddenly gets easier. They're ahead because you're choosing with intention, honoring your energy, and allowing yourself to want more or less without apology. So if you're standing on the edge of something new, feeling unsure or hesitant, remember there's so much life left to shape in ways that feel like yours. Thank you so much for watching.